Good morning everyone, my name is Sarah Doherty and I'm the Marketing and Events Coordinator here at Hornbill. I'd like to welcome and thank you for joining today's webinar where we will be having a presentation on simplifying the challenges of modern ITSM with Hornbill Service Manager with Managed Dave Relationship Manager and Connor Hamilton, Product Specialist here at Hornbill. Just to inform you, Delegate Auto will be muted during the presentation to help facilitate flow and timekeeping. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the GoToMeeting question facility on the right-hand side of your screen. We will collate questions and answer them at the end of the presentation. Thank you for taking the time to attend. I will now pass you over to Manish and Connor.
Good morning everyone, happy Valentine's Day. Today myself and Connor will be taking you through an overview of Hornbill Service Manager and how we've helped simplify the challenges of modern service management. I will begin by looking at some of the key challenges that we've identified and addressed in our new solution. Connor will then take you through a demo of Service Manager in action, and we're going to close by looking at some of our commercial offering, Hornbill's key differentiators, and our Supportworks to Service Manager migration package. So to begin with, Hornbill have been in the ITSM industry now for over 20 years, supplying Supportworks, the system all of our attendees are using today. We've looked at some of the challenges our customers have faced and our experience in the industry to identify a number of key challenges, not just with Supportworks, but with other traditional ITSM software too. So the number one challenge that we hear about all the time is upgrades. They're an expensive, time-consuming process that can be quite painful. We often hear from our customers who plan on upgrading Supportworks, but for one reason or the other, the project gets delayed. And before you know it, there's a big gap between the version you're on to the latest version, causing a more complex and costly project. So we really try to address this in our new solution and make life a lot easier for our customers, and we'll show you how shortly. Customization. So the reason a lot of our Supportworks customers bought Supportworks in the first place is because it's so customizable. But this does come with a disadvantage because the more you customize the solution, the more difficult it becomes to support. And going back to my first point, upgrade, because those customizations often need to be re-implemented or re-applied at the point of an application upgrade. So again, we've really tried to make this side of things a lot easier in our new solution, and we'll show you how in a moment. Complexity. ITSM is complex enough at the best of times without having a complicated tool behind it. Supportworks is very feature-rich and powerful, but it does require a high degree of knowledge and expertise because it is quite complicated. Training can be time-consuming and costly. The situation we often hear about is where a Supportworks administrator will leave an organization and take all of that knowledge with them, leaving a gap in knowledge in your service desk. So we really try to make life easier again in our new Service Manager system. Usability. So Supportworks is very feature-rich and powerful, but I'm sure you'll agree if you compare it to the types of apps that you use outside of the office, it's not particularly intuitive by today's standards. For the most part, communication actually happens outside of Supportworks. So you'll log a ticket within Supportworks, but you'll be asking questions of your colleagues via email or conversations or an instant message, for example. And that communication actually happens outside of Supportworks. And it's not stored within the tool, and it's an area we refer to as tacit knowledge, which we really try to implement in Service Manager, and we'll show you how in a moment. So all of what I've mentioned leads to a high total cost of ownership with upgrades, with consultancy, with training costs, with a hidden cost you may not think about, such as the electricity cost to host a server. And we're all looking at ways to make our spending more efficient. So Hornbill had a light bulb moment, or a eureka moment if you like, where we looked at the challenges our customers are facing, and we looked at how the world has changed with the mobile and cloud revolutions, and we used that to create a collaboration platform that allows your colleagues and your teams to engage in a much more modern, intuitive way, where information that matters to you comes to you. On our platform there are various applications available. We'll be concentrating today on Hornbill Service Manager, but we'll also be touching on some of our other line of business apps such as Document Manager, Customer Manager, and Configuration Manager. These applications do work standalone or side by side to leverage each other. So we really try to innovate by marrying best practice service management with familiar social and consumer mobile concepts to create a system that allows you to share knowledge and ideas, collaborate no matter where you are, allowing you to get more done in less time and from anywhere. Communication is key. You can work across any device, be it a tablet, a mobile phone, a PC or a laptop. We also have native iOS and Android applications. So that allows you to work from anywhere at any time, with language no longer a barrier with our instant text translation service. So I mentioned earlier, in Supportworks, for the most part, communication happens outside of the tool. What I mean by that is you'll log a ticket in Supportworks, but you'll be asking questions of your colleagues to help you resolve that ticket. That communication might happen via email, it might happen via a conversation, it might happen via an instant message. But that communication will not be stored in Supportworks. It'll be locked in someone's head or in an email inbox somewhere. So it's not reusable, it's not searchable. And that's an area we refer to as tacit knowledge, which we've really tried to tap into in Service Manager, and Connor will show you how in a moment. Tacit knowledge is in contrast to explicit knowledge, which would be the types of documents that you may put into a knowledge base. So things like FAQs, policies, procedures. And we've really tried to simplify this as well and make it much easier to find and share these types of documents. And we'll show you how we've done that during our demo. So a key point before we begin the demonstration: Supportworks is a traditional piece of on-premise software. What that means is Hornbill will release a new version, you download it, you test it, you deploy it to a live environment if you're happy. But the point being, you have to stop what you're doing in order to carry out the upgrade. Hornbill Service Manager is delivered as a true service. We use continuous deployment to keep you up to date all of the time, so there are no more upgrades to worry about. Similar to Facebook or Google, you don't stop what you're doing in order to carry out an upgrade, you're simply presented with the latest features and functionality at a refresh of a browser. So there are no more complex and costly upgrades. All updates are automatic, so you're always up to date with the latest features without any service disruption, and customizations that keep on working after an update guaranteed. So on that note, I will pass you over to Connor to take you through Hornbill Service Manager in action.
Thank you very much, Manish, and happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Right, we've got a record turnout for Valentine's Day, so I hope you're all ready to fall in love with Service Manager. Right, we've got three portals to show you. The first one I'm going to start with is the Self-Service Portal. I've logged on as a gentleman called Steve Robinson. We do support single sign-on, but this is Steve's business portal. I say business portal because Service Manager is equally at home in IT as it is for HR or facilities or finance or whichever department you might want to use it for. But when Steve logs in or the customer logs in, you can see the bulletins flashing across the top. These are on a carousel wheel. There's a flick through and they just let the logged in user know of the current state of play with the service desk. So you can see there's a service availability issue. If you've got a problem with your Mac, you can get it booked in for a deep clean, whatever that is. And then all of the services are directly beneath this in nice clear icons. If I start on the right hand side, the All My Services tab, you can see there's nice big clear icons for all of the services that the logged in user is currently subscribed to. Each logged in user may see a different view depending on what they are subscribed to, but all the services are there nice and clear. We've got sub icons as well just to keep it a bit clearer. So the one on the top left is to show that service currently impacted, and as you can see we can put messages underneath that, and the number in the top right are the number of active requests the logged in user has against that particular service. Underneath the All My Requests tab is all the active requests the logged in user has regardless of service. And you can see there are a couple of requests waiting customer feedback there from the logged in user. The impacted services are shown under the impacted tab. Obviously that tab will only appear if there are impacted services, and again the same with the active tab. And if the user wants to, they can set up their favorite services, which will be first and foremost when the user first logs into the portal. If the user doesn't know where to go or is unsure, they can simply type in a search term to the federated search, which will search everything that the logged in user is entitled to see, for example mobile, and that will come back with the results split out into FAQs, catalogue items, existing requests and services. So in this case, if the user wanted to request a new mobile device, for example, they can simply click on the relevant catalogue item and that will jump straight into the relevant set of questions. So in this case, preferred make and model, memory, data, 4G, what's the reason? And that could kick off its own process, probably go to its, the customer's manager for authorization or whatever you decide to have in that situation. Let's take another hypothetical situation. Steve, who I'm currently logged in as, is working from home and he's having an issue connecting to the VPN. So he can see as soon as he logs in by the bulletin at the top that there is a service issue with the VPN access, and you can see next to the service icon that this service is currently impacted. So you can click on the home working service. Because there is a known issue, this has been pushed out to the self-service, and Steve has been given a workaround to try. The ideal situation will be Steve will give the workaround a go, that will fix his problem, and he'll be able to carry on with his day's work. He can still let the service desk know that he was impacted by that particular known issue by clicking the Me Too button on the right hand side. That will add Steve in as a connection to this existing known issue, and that will mean that he's included on any communication about this particular known issue, but he doesn't need to log another ticket. That's one less ticket for the service desk to manage. At the same time, the service desk can still report on how many people have been affected by this particular known issue. If Steve wanted to find out some further information, the service desk have pushed out knowledge to the self-service in the form of frequently asked questions. This could be in the form of text or videos or hyperlinks or however you want to push this knowledge out. You can see how many times there's been liked, disliked and viewed, and obviously all of this can then be reported on, so you can keep the knowledge on the self-service portal relevant. Active requests, again, are shown under the request tab, and as you can see, we've got another request here, awaiting customer feedback. So I'll show you what that looks like quickly. I'll click in, and at this particular piece of feedback, we've got lots of examples here. The top one is a star rating. Please rate our service to you. I'll give that a 5. Are you happy with how long it took to respond to your request? Yes. How would you rate the support representative's knowledge? Excellent. Please share any ideas on how we can improve your services. You can't improve. It's that good. Hit submit, and then the feedback goes into its own feedback section, and the question and answers, assets, anything that's been linked to this existing request are shown under the collapsible panels. If I go back now to that service, and let's start a whole new request. Firstly, this particular service has been split out into 3 catalog items. The customer doesn't need to know any ITIL jargon, incident, service requests, whatever the case may be. They simply have, or Steve in this case, has an issue connecting to the VPN. So click on the relevant catalog item, and that will go in and ask its own set of questions. So very, very similar to a finding car insurance online or booking a holiday online. Anybody should be able to walk in off the street and book a holiday online. So we've taken a leaf out of that kind of book, and we've given the customer, this is the same for the analyst, but this is on the self-service portal. So for the customer, one question at a time, decision-based system. So for that, this first one, if I say connection refused, we're asked, do you have internet access? What error message are you seeing, and any supporting information? We have a breadcrumb trail on the right-hand side, so we can see what's been asked and what's been answered. If I go back and select the other option, connection dropping, we're asked a different set of questions. So if I go through this, cannot connect, contributing factors, nope, haven't got any issues with broadband. We then move on to the assets. So as I say, one question at a time. We've given them the first set of details, and we're now asked to link the asset that we're experiencing the problem with. So these are the assets that link directly to Steve. If we wanted to search for a shared asset, so one that wouldn't be linked directly to Steve, but Steve might still want to log a ticket against, for example, a printer, we can search via the site assets or the all assets tab there as well. But in this case, I'm working from home, having a problem with my laptop is probably going to be, having a problem with the VPN is probably going to be something to do with my laptop. So I'll link the laptop and hit finish, and that will then come back with a reference number 223, and we've prefixed that with IN for incident. Oops, sorry, wrong button. So we can see at the top we've got the heads-up display. This request has already been assigned, and in the timeline there we can see it's been assigned to the first line support team, and an email confirmation has already been sent to Steve with the reference number and the details that he submitted. Talking of the details, as I mentioned on that previous one, all of the questions and answers, the assets that might be linked, and everything that's happened on this are all on the one page, on the one tab. There's no flicking between tabs. Everything is in chronological order. So nice and easy for the customer to see. And it's also nice and easy for the customer to see what needs to happen next. So the ideal situation here would be that rather than chasing you guys for an update, Steve can come onto the portal, or any customer can come onto the portal and see how their request is progressing for themselves without having to chase you. So you guys can focus on the things you need to focus on. If Steve wants to type an update, we have the update box at the top. If he wants to attach a file, you can add drag and drop, or you can go via the old-fashioned way. But everything is there for Steve. If for whatever reason, Steve wants some immediate assistance. We also have, you've probably seen it in the bottom right here, the live chat. The image, the color, even the shape of the bubble here can be customized. It's completely up to you what you want. If I hit start chat, so in this case, let's say Steve is rushing into a meeting and he wants a quick answer. And flip across to the Analyst Portal. Again, I'm using Chrome. Everything is web-based, so you can access this anywhere, anytime. All you need is a browser. Graham, I'm logged in as Graham on the Analyst side of things. Graham's on the first line team. Graham has a notification firstly to show that ticket that we just logged, 223, has been assigned to Graham's team, the first line support team, so he can click straight into that to deal with it if he wants to. And you can also see that the chat session that we just started has also been created on the self-service as well. So Graham is picking this up via the Analyst interface, but he can also pick this up on his phone or via email if he wants to. It's completely up to each analyst how they want to receive those notifications. So I'll click into the live chat. We can see Steve has created the session. We must accept the session before we can reply. So I'll accept it on the right hand side. And then we have a pre-canned response. My name is Graham. How can I help you today? And from there, it's live chat. How can I help? Excuse the spelling. Send, and then with this live chat we can, as you can see on the icon, we can exchange attachments. But probably the best bit, if I take the snipping tool and I'll say, okay, Steve, this is what I'm seeing, Hornbill chat session. Unlike Supportworks, we have to save the file, upload the file, we can simply paste the screenshots straight in. If I hit send, there it is, and it's there for Steve to pick up on the self-service as well. So it's a live chat. It's there for immediate assistance. It's completely up to you if you want to use it or not. If I mark this as solved now, you can see on the right hand side we have some statistics for response time and close time, all of which again can be reported on, so you can see how effective these chat sessions are treating your customers. If for whatever reason we need to turn this into a request, we have a button in the top right to raise this chat session as a request. This will link the chat session to the new request, and you can then refer back to it whenever you need to while dealing with the request. That will give obviously the customer a reference number and an SLA. So that is the self-service, that is the live chat. Any questions, feel free to type them into the chat session. I will respond to them at the end of the session. So all of the icons that we saw on the self-service, as you can see, we've got lots of apps on the left-hand side here. All of these are roles and whoops. All of these are, excuse me, clicking too much. All of these are roles and rights driven, so each analyst will only ever see what they are allowed to see. Graham has the rights to all of these different applications. As Manish mentioned, you can use each of them individually or side by side to leverage each other. But the services that we saw on the self-service portal, this is where we set them all up. So if I stick with the home working service, this is where the magic happens, if you will. Probably standard request catalog stuff that you're expecting to see. This particular service is in the catalog status, so it can be requested from. We have 3 named subscribers, but we can subscribe an entire company, cost center department, individual users, internal, external. Very flexible there as to who you want to be able to consume from this service. The supporting teams functionality provides an automatic partition for your analysts, and that's what enables HR and finance to work on the same system as IT, for example. And obviously HR and finance, they might have sensitive data. That will provide an automatic partition so that IT will only ever see IT stuff and HR vice versa. Is this visible on the portal? This service is currently impacted, as we saw on the self-service portal. And then this is the main tab, the request configuration tab. As you can see at the top, we've got the different call classes. So for incidents, we have one catalog item, and for any request logged against that particular catalog item, this is the feedback that gets sent to the customer, as we saw on the self-service portal. Each of the catalog items can ask its own set of questions, which we call progressive capture, and it can kick off its own fulfillment process. Your fulfillment process, whatever you want that to be per catalog item. If any of you guys have any other languages in your organisations, so you might have someone logging in as, let's have a look what we've got here, Russian, let's say. If we want to translate this particular catalogue item into Russian, click of a button and there it is. I trust that's correct. but that will then give any Russian speakers their native language when they log into the self-service portal or the Analyst Portal, anywhere in the system in fact. So this is the catalogue item for incidents. As we saw on the portal, there are two others, and these are both requests. So each one of these, as I say, can ask its own set of questions and kick off its own fulfillment process. Any active requests that have been logged against this service will be shown under the Request tab. There must be a few there. Any assets that may underpin this service will be shown under the Assets tab. The frequently asked questions that we saw on the Self-Service Portal will be shown under the FAQs tab, so how many times it's been liked, disliked and viewed. The bulletins that are flashing across the top, and any SLAs that may be related to this particular service. So that is the service configuration. The last icon on here is the Configuration Explorer, and you'll see this on most records within the system, but this will show you the relationships across the system for the record that you're currently looking at. So from this service, you can see there are lots of requests against this service. If I zoom out a tiny bit, but there are two assets at the top. So I'm only interested in the assets in this particular case, so I can clear down the noise and get rid of the request by clicking the request button in the top right. So that will show me the relationships to the underpinning assets. So that service depends on those two assets, and then we can expand from there. If something happened to this, for example, we can expand that, and we can see there are four other assets that may be affected if this gateway, I'm guessing that is, IPsec VPN gateway goes out. You can see there will be a service and four other machines that will be impacted. So very good for impact analysis, and we can have the bidirectional dependency, so we can see how it will affect the chain. We can have as many levels as you want here as well, so that could be a long tree if you want it to be. So that is the service configuration. So once you've got those services set up, I mentioned you need progressive capture, flow and a process flow. You don't have to have those, but it's nice to have them. It will help you manage your requests. So this is the admin tool. Again, I'm using Chrome, but the bit I wanted to show you were the processes and the progressive capture and how these are configured. So I'll start with the process side of things. Clicking into the process, let's take an incident process to start with. So you guys using Supportworks at the moment, you may well have experience with the business process tool in Supportworks. The first thing you'll probably notice when you see this is how much easier it is to see what's going on. With Supportworks there are lots of tabs and lots of lists, and if you were sat in front of it on your first day of Supportworks, you probably wouldn't have a clue what's going on. With this, it wouldn't take long to figure out what's going on if you sat a new analyst in front of this process flow. Everything is graphical. It's all drag and drop, so if you wanted to tweak something, if you wanted to add something in after that decision node, it's as simple as that. I want an authorization or a human task or an automated task or whatever you fancy. But probably the best thing about this particular engine is that it's non-prescriptive. With Supportworks, you have to have a response time and a fixed time on every call. You have to send an email when an action happens, whether it be logged, updated or resolved. With this, it's completely up to you if you want a timer at all, if you want to send an email at all, if you want to wait for an analyst to pick up the request before you start the timer, that's absolutely fine. It's completely up to you how you want this to work. So in this particular example, it gets assigned to a team. An email gets sent, it checks is there a priority on the request. If there is, then it starts the timer. If not, it waits for an analyst to pick up the request. Once the analyst has picked it up, he waits for the analyst to provide a priority. Once they have, that's when the timer starts. So as I say, unlike Supportworks, it's completely up to you how you want this process to work. You can make this as complex as you want or as simple as you want. You don't have to use a process tool if you don't want to. It's completely up to you how you want the system to work. It's your system, so you can make it work the way you want to work. So a good example of what it's capable of is the change process. So if I quickly click into that, this particular process, we have 4 stages: proposal, planning, implement and review. The planning stage is a good example. So once it gets to this stage, there is an impact assessment. We have 3 outcomes: high, medium or low. If it's high or medium, we need a backup plan, and then it will carry on once that's been completed, gather some more change details and go down to authorization. Whereas if it's low, it will skip the backup plan, gather those change details and go down to authorization. So completely up to you, as I mentioned, how you want this flow to work. But there's 3 possible outcomes for the analyst to take. All of this complexity is hidden for the analyst or the end users on this portal, but obviously they can see how it's going with the heads-up display. The authorization in this system, I'll be honest, is similar to Supportworks. In this case, we have 3 named users. This could be the cab, each with 100% weighting, so whoever gets there first can authorize a request against this process. Scrolling down, we can have lifespan settings, so this can expire after a certain amount of time, it's due after an amount of time, or it needs to start after a specific amount of time. We can pass variables through to this task, so potentially an IT manager might be out on the golf course, wouldn't be looking at the finer details of the request, but we can still give that task, that authorization task, enough information so that the IT manager on the golf course can still see everything he needs to make an informed decision, or they need to make an informed decision. So lots and lots that we can do there. We can also, as I mentioned, we can put timers on this particular task, so it could get approved, in which case it goes to the next stage. It could get rejected, in which case there's a task to validate the rejection. It could get resubmitted, but that task could expire, in which case the authorization will be delegated, and then the process will carry on from there. So as I say, lots and lots of different examples there. The flip side of this, if I go back, is the set of questions. And you guys, you might be familiar with the self-service wizards in Supportworks, but again, lots of tabs, lots of lists. What's a good example? New request is a good example for this. So again, it's all graphical. Each blue node is essentially a question, and then based on the answer to that question, as you can see, the flow will go down a particular route. So the person logging it, whether it be analyst or the customer on the self-service, will only ever see what they need to see based on their previous answer. So this is the admin side of things. Again, any questions, feel free to put them into the chat session. We'll address them at the end. How does this actually look in practice? So if I go back to the analyst side of things and I go back to the service manager application, this is the request list. So at the moment we're looking at Graham's incidents. Graham has the rights to all of these different call classes, so we can look at all of Graham's changes, we can look at all of Graham's requests regardless of call class. Graham may be a member of different teams, so we can look at all of the changes in the change team. There they are. Or we can look at all of the requests in all of Graham's teams. There they are. So there's 144 requests in this particular view, so there's lots and lots of requests. So there's a quick filter in the top left even. So if I type in VPN, there are all the VPN related requests, or I can search for any of this data. So if I wanted to find all of Brian's requests, I could type in Brian, and they're all tickets where Brian is the owner. Or if I want to find the tickets where Anna is the customer, again I can type in Anna, and there they are. So all of this information we can search on, and it's a quick filter to quickly sort through lots of information. At the same time, there may be a need for a more permanent view. So high priority incidents, for example, there they are. But in Supportworks, if you want to set that kind of view up, you would need to know a bit about the database, so you knew what to filter on, you would need to know where to go to set that kind of view up. With this, we try to take that complexity away with this simple clause builder. Priority is high, request type is incident, status is open. Very, very simple to build. Each analyst can build their own views, so it's whatever is important to each analyst. They can see whatever they want to see. If I wanted to add in a condition, let's say where the owner is Graham, owner is, spell Graham. Simple as that to build. There's no SQL knowledge needed, no technical knowledge needed. It's just straight there from the request list. So it's as simple as that to build, simple as that to remove each clause. I can share this view with another team member or another team, another user, anybody who supports a particular service. This one has already been shared with the first line support team. But off the back of that view, the active high priority incidents, I might want to see where these requests are sat by team, or who owns these active high priority incidents, or where they originate from by site. So we can set up charts off the back of these views, and what that will give each analyst is a dashboard. So we've got a button in the top right to switch to my personal dashboard, and this will basically give each analyst the same information but represented in a different way. This one has been set to large, so if I knock that one back to small, that looks a bit better. So this is Graham's personal dashboard. Each analyst can see the dashboard however they want to. So as you just saw there, I've just changed it to small. I can drag that across to the right. I want to see each calls by owner first and foremost, or the active high priority incidents by team. Up to each analyst how they want to see them, but most importantly, if I want to see the high priority incidents that sat with the first line, I can simply click on that part of the chart and there they are. So all of those charts we can drill into and see the finer detail. At any point we can export that data straight into CSV. We can choose the columns that we want to include, or we can simply select all and hit export, and that will open the CSV file with all of this data that we're seeing in the background there, ready to email or manipulate or do what you want with in Excel. We can flip back to our home view at any point. We can set the view that we're looking at as our home view at any point, and then similar to Supportworks, we can sort on any of these columns by simply clicking on them. And if you want to change these columns or change the order, we have the button in the top right. So I want to see when these requests need to be resolved by, and I want to see that second. So I simply drag that up to second, and we can even distinguish between the fields that we see on a tablet or a phone or a small screen as it says there. So I'll click that one. I want to see that now, but I don't want to see that on my phone. Save that, and there's the resolve by column on the left hand side in the second place. So that's the request list. Again, any questions, feel free to type them into the chat session. And then the actual logging side of things. If Steve is on the phone right now, we don't know who's calling, we don't know what he's calling about. If we know he's calling about an incident, we can open an incident form directly, providing we've got the rights to. But if we don't, we can simply click on the Raise New button, and we can say who's calling. It's Steve. Are we talking to the right Steve? You have a summary on the right hand side. Are you calling about an active request, Steve? If so, here's an update. If not, we hit next. And then these are the services that Steve is currently subscribed to. So if he's calling about his Mac, we can open the Mac support and we can click on the relevant catalog item, and that will go in to ask the relevant set of questions and kick off the relevant fulfillment process. I'll stick with the top one, the desktop support. Okay, what's he calling about, Steve? I have a VPN issue. Keep it simple, VPN. So at that point we know who's calling, we know what he's calling about, we then have enough information to classify this request. So one question at a time, as you've already seen, but as I mentioned before, it's a decision-based system. So if I selected change, we're asked to upload a document. We can hit previous on the left, or we can jump back on the breadcrumb trail on the right hand side. So actually, no, this is a VPN issue, this is an incident, and because it's an incident we're asked a different set of questions. So it's a VPN access category. Priority is a medium, and again the assets, we can import these assets from any kind of system management tool. We have an import script that will sit on your network so it can reach your database, whichever database you want. SCCM is very common, but as I say, any kind of system management tool we can import from. These can be imported daily or hourly or weekly or however you want to, but in this case this will provide this functionality which will link the customer's assets directly to the customer, or provide the ability to search through the entire CMDB to find, as I say, a shared asset. I won't link the finance printer. I've linked Steve's laptop again, so I will leave that and hit finish. And again, that will come back with a reference number 224, and we've prefixed this with IN for incident. If I have a look at that request, we have a slight issue with the translation at the moment on the first stage. What that should be saying is it's been assigned to the first line support team. The SLA has kicked off, and an email confirmation has been sent. The only thing it hasn't done is assigned an analyst to own this particular request. So on the assign function at the top, you can see it's already been assigned to the first line support team, but the analyst, so this is first thing in the morning, let's say, we can see the status of each analyst in the first line support team. Brian is off on holiday, Graham is online, but everybody else is offline. So this could be first thing in the morning. Graham is the first one in. He's the only one who can actually pick it up. So I'll assign it to Graham. That checkpoint has been ticked. We've now moved on to the second stage to resolve this desktop issue. So we've been given a task by the process, but there are lots of actions across the top here as well. So if we wanted to update, very similar to the self-service portal, that will go into the timeline in chronological order. All of the updates we can decide whether we want to share with the customer on the portal or not, and just like the self-service, we can paste screenshots directly in if we want to. just to show you how that goes into the timeline. I'll press update, and there it is to be stored within the request. We can also pass variables through to other resources like Google, for example, at the click of a button. So this is a VPN issue request. We can click on Google, and that's searching Google for VPN issue automatically. We're simply passing variables through to a URL. YouTube is another common button. People nowadays might prefer to watch a video rather than read a long PDF or set of instructions. So we can simply search YouTube for a video. We can take the abbreviated URL across the bottom or the long one across the top. And again, just like the image, we can paste that straight in and then say, okay, Steve, watch this video. I think this will solve your problem. And Steve will be able to watch that straight from his phone or straight from the self-service portal, wherever he might be picking that up from. As you can see, it's all within the request. There's no need to open other tabs or go to other pages or whatever the case may be. So as I mentioned, lots of options across the top. There are some very common buttons up there if you want to have a chat with us to find out some other uses for those. Attach a file, link requests, send an email, look at the customer, assign, adding connections. So this is a relatively new addition. If there is another customer impacted by the exact same issue, we can add them in as a connection. There could be a manager who is interested in the status of one of their team members' requests. It could be a secretary on behalf of the CEO. But either way, this will add in multiple customers to the same request, just to keep things simple for everybody, basically. Escalations, we can look at the assets, look at the boards, which I'll come back to a bit later. Resolve, cancel, we can look at the relationships again, or print. So lots of options there across the top. And the last thing on here, one of the last things on here is the task that's appeared. So as part of this, we can assign a task. This particular one has been assigned to me automatically. We can create them on the fly as well if we want to, but these tasks are capable of many things. All of these can be picked up on your phone. So if you've got people walking and talking, we can simply assign a task to them and they can pick these up and manage all of these via the mobile app. As Manish mentioned, we have a native iOS and Android application, which are free on the app stores and will link directly with your instance on the cloud. So we can attach a file, add a checklist, give it times, or assign it to another team or analyst. I like the checklist functionality. So this could be going to the network team. We say, guys, you've got 1 and 2 things that you need to do. The network guys can pick this up on their phone and you say, right, we've done 1 or 2. I need to come back, and that will give the task a progress bar. So at a glance, Graham can see how far through that task the recipient is. If Graham, obviously that's one way of getting someone else's opinion on a particular request by assigning them a task. The other way is obviously just to assign the requests away. That would reduce the visibility of Graham, obviously. So a third option is to drop in a subject matter expert. So if we wanted to ask Rosemary, have you seen anything going on with the VPN at our organisation? I can drop Rosemary in as a subject matter expert, and I can say, hey Rosemary, can you look at this? So Rosemary will get a notification on her phone or within the app, however she wants to receive those notifications. And then Rosemary can come in and say, nope, there's nothing going on with this. Can you please raise a change? Or yes, we're aware of this. There's a change already in play, or whatever the case may be. Rosemary may not have the rights to see incidents. As I say, everything is roles and rights driven. But because Graham has added Rosemary in, her rights have been elevated to see this particular incident. So there's no messing around with rights to get Rosemary's opinion. So lots of options there. If Rosemary, for whatever reason, did say, let's raise a change off the back of this, we can search for a request from within the request. So again, I'll keep with the VPN. There are lots of VPN related requests here. So if I wanted to filter that back, let's say we're looking for an open problem. So I can filter that back on the call class, the status, or even the service that this is related to. Search again, and there's one open problem. Link that, and we have the icon at the top, and this will provide a workaround, the same workaround we saw in the self-service portal, but rather than for the customer, this is for the analyst. Mr. Analyst, are you aware of this workaround? This might help this particular incident that this problem is linked to. So the analyst can come in and say, yeah, that's the solution, or no, that's not quite right for us. So if Graham still needs to raise a request, we can raise a new linked request, or we can just log the change that we know we want to log a change. I can pass variables through if you want it to. I'll keep with the desktop support. And obviously this is a change, so it's a different set of questions, but again, nice and simple. This is a low risk change. Breadcrumb trail on the right hand side again. I'm not going to worry about the assets, but there's a few bits of functionality that I want to show you off the back of this change. So again, reference number, but because it's a change, we've prefixed that with CH. And again, it's completely up to you how you want to prefix your references. So again, summing up with the first stage, but we need to assign this. So the system is prompting whoever opens this request to assign this request to another member of the change team. And again, just like the incident, we can see Graham is the only person actually online at the moment. So I'll pick it up as Graham. We've been assigned a task to validate this change. Is this a valid change which should be taken through for assessment? Yes, it is. Valid. So we're on to the second stage. Now we briefly ran through this in the admin tool and the process flow. So there's an impact assessment. If it's high or medium, we need a backup plan. If it's low, it will skip straight down to authorization. So in the interest of time, I'm going to skip that. And I'm going to go straight down to authorization. I'm going to select this as a low impact change. So that's been ticked. We've now been given the authorization task in the bottom right there, so we don't need the backup plan. So there are 3 named authorization tasks, Brian, Graham and Daniel. Because I'm a named user, I can open this one. So I will say that is good to go. Accept that, and we now move on to the third stage because the backup plan is not required. So we've now been given a task to schedule this in, and we have this helpful icon in the top to say when would you like this to go from and to. So from the 20th to, let's say, the 23rd, schedule that in. And again, we've now been given a task to implement this change, and that checkpoint has been ticked. So this heads-up display will hide the complexity of the process from the analyst or the end user, but it's nice and easy to see what's happened and what needs to happen. So off the back of that, firstly, as you might expect, very similar to Supportworks, we have the forward scheduler change. So we can see what's happening and when it's happening. We can click straight into the change from there if we want to. And one thing that I mentioned I was going to come back to was this visual board functionality. So this is just an easier way to see an overview of any particular area of your system. So this is the change management board. This is a good example because we split out the process into, split out the board into the different stages of the process: incoming, assessed, with CAB, approved, and in progress. And once they've been completed, they go for a review. The CAB, they could use this as the meeting if they meet up every afternoon or Wednesday, for example. They can just go through this list of the board. But you can see color codes. You can see which ones have been cancelled, which ones have been resolved. You can see the owners against each of these tasks, so I can click on, let's say, Graham, and that will limit the view to just Graham's changes on this board. But the best thing about this, if Rosemary were to log in right now, look at this board, she would see a bird's eye view of all of the changes that are currently in play. So you can see where they are in terms of stage. We can move all of these across if we want to. We can simply drag and drop like that. Let's move that one over to authorization. But we would recommend that you let the process take care of it for you, so that as you work on the change, or an analyst works on the change, the process, that particular request will automatically move across the board accordingly. So that change that we've just logged, it's been approved, it's been scheduled in, so it's already over here in the in progress stage, change 225. Graham was the owner for the VPN issue. So that's just an example. We can also use it for breaches. So this is running off the timer rather than the process. So incidents that are going to breach today, breaching in 2 hours, breaching in 30 minutes, and the ones that have breached, we can click into them to see the finer details, or we can see who the owners are. So we can see who's that. That's Daniel. Click on Daniel. One's about to breach, one has breached. What's going on? So lots of examples there. The other side of this is we can push out information to the collaboration core. So this is Graham's newsfeed, and what's happening here is the information that Graham is interested in is coming to Graham. So this will be the same for every analyst. Again, each analyst may have their own view depending on what they're interested in, but Graham is a member of these workspaces that you can see on the right hand side. There could be hundreds of these, but these are the only ones that Graham is interested in, so he will only see an update to these workspaces. Scrolling down, you can see major incidents, other changes. The process is automatically updating that particular change. So all of this is automatic. But again, anybody logging in right now, for example, Rosemary, if she logs in right now, she can see that change that we just logged has already been approved by the CAB. She doesn't need to go looking for that information because that information is coming to her. Documents, people are tagging documents, liking comments. We're following this particular incident, incident 93. So similar to the watch calls view in Supportworks, Graham is not the customer, he's not the owner, but he has a vested interest in this particular request for whatever reason. So by simply clicking the follow button there, that will mean any update to this request will be pushed to Graham's newsfeed automatically. So again, he doesn't need to go looking for the update will come to him. So the benefit of this, obviously it's very easy to gather knowledge and share knowledge and ask questions in this kind of forum format, but the most important thing, as Manish mentioned at the start, is that that information is here in the system to be reused if necessary. So in this case, James is on the first line team. He's asking a question. He's posted a screenshot. My customer is trying to delete a folder, but it's getting an error message. 2 people have come back and answered that particular question. 4 people have voted on Pablo's answer. As you can see, it's in different languages, but at the click of a button, we can see it in our language. So language is no problem, but 4 people have validated Pablo's answer. So James will probably try Pablo's answer first. But most importantly, in a year's time, if someone has this exact same issue, they can simply search using the global search at the top, find this post, and rather than bothering Pablo and Pierre again, this information is here to be reused. So if I take a search term, let's stick with a VPN, copy, paste that into the global search, Rusoft VPN, search, and we've got 11 results. So we can filter that back based on the date it was posted, who posted it, the type of post, and the workspace it was posted in. So we just copied it from the first line FAQs workspace, search again, and that's the post that we've just copied it from. So as I say, this information, once it's been captured, is there to be reused. So unlike Supportworks, where you'll probably get lost by someone talking or in an email or whatever the case may be, it wouldn't be held within the tool to be reused. We've taken advantage of that knowledge now, and it's here to be used accordingly. The other side of the knowledge is Document Manager. It's a different application, but obviously it's a free application, so it's up to you if you want to use it or not. But this is more for structured knowledge, so Word documents, PDF documents. You can create your own documents if you want to. All of these documents we can group into libraries, so we can group all the marketing documents together and then share the marketing documents with the marketing team. If I click into one of these, we can set review dates, we can share them with different people, we can give the different people rights to modify or change the data on the document. We can keep a timeline, so everything that's happened, a new version, tagged other people, we can see when that happened. We can keep every version of that document, open every version, and then publish the one that we want to publish when we're ready. We can keep tasks against the documents, we can keep tags against the documents. These are like keywords, so these keywords we can also search for at the top. Change management process, so I search for that, there's our document again. We've also got a new, another way of searching for it in Document Manager, which is this one, which is a tag cloud. These are all of the tags that are currently in our Document Manager. The ones that are used most are shown the biggest, and all of them we can click into. So our change management process is only used the once, so I click into that, there's our document again. So the benefit of this is obviously it's all in the one place, it can be accessed anywhere, anytime, but this will solve the need for those many different network locations with the dodgy naming conventions. You're not quite sure if that document is the latest. If it's here, you can see exactly when it was changed, you can make sure it's the latest. So that will never happen again, and obviously because it's on the cloud, it can be accessed anywhere, anytime. So lots and lots of things there. The final thing I was going to show you was the reporting side of things, and in particular the advanced analytics. So we've got the personal dashboards that we briefly saw on the request list. Quite a few customers use those for reporting anyway because they're nice and simple to set up and they'll give most people the information they need. There is the reporting suite for people who want to get into the tables and join tables and do that advanced stuff if they want to. But we also have this new level called Advanced Analytics. And Advanced Analytics takes the form of 4 parts. I'll start from the left. So firstly, we've got the measures section, which is basically the trending engine. We set a measure, average time to resolve, incidents logged per month, incidents resolved outside of fix, within fix, whatever you want. And we set a target against each one of those measures. This will then go away every day, week, month, year, and gather the data compared to that particular measure. So we've got a RAG status on the middle there, so we can see at a glance how we're doing against that particular measure. We've got a spark line, so you can see a trend of how you're doing against that particular measure. And then once you've got your measures, you can then put them onto widgets. And a widget is a bit of information, so we've got lots of different types of widgets here, as you can see. If I just click on one, this is annual comparison of monthly tickets raised. So per month, per year, we've got the different number of requests that have been logged. So in February there were loads in 2014, 1 in 2015 and none in 2016, or 2013 for that matter. But you can see it's nice and clear to see how these, or the trend per year, per month. So that's an example of a widget. Once you've got many widgets, you can put them onto a dashboard. Let's go overview. So this is an example of a dashboard. You can put this on a screen above the service desk at the basis of a meeting, or what a lot of customers do now is, rather than creating a PDF from a report, emailing out the report on a Monday afternoon, or Monday morning or a Friday afternoon, we can simply grant particular users, roles or groups access to this dashboard, and then because everything is just a URL, they can simply click on the relevant URL, single sign-on will allow them straight in, and they'll be able to see the latest up-to-date data whenever they want to. And once you've got many dashboards, you can put them onto a slideshow. So in this case we have lots of dashboards, 9 dashboards, changing every 5 to 10 seconds. So if I press play on that, this is probably most commonly on a screen above the service desk, but again it could be the basis of a meeting. It's completely up to you how you want this to work, but just to quickly talk you through some of these. That one is nice and clear. This one is to do with the tickets being logged, tickets raised per hour, per day, per source, service level performance. You can see there's stats, charts, nice, clear, unresolved after 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months. Customer feedback, so star rating, customer feedback requests, support representative knowledge. We can see we can put targets on some of these if we want to. Lots and lots of different options there, but as you can say, we've got a free trial, so give it a try and let us know what you think. I'm going to pass you back to Manish to wrap things up, but thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Connor. That was a great demo. Just a reminder to everyone, please do continue to ask your questions. We've received a number of questions already, which we'll address at the end of the session. So I'm going to quickly wrap up now by looking at some of Hornbill's key differentiators, our commercial offering and our Supportworks to Service Manager migration package. I'd like to share our core values as a company with you. Customer first, we're committed to working with our customers and being responsive to your needs. Partnership through collaboration. We work in partnership with our customers and value the feedback that you provide, whether it's through our user groups, our forums, or any other interactions with us. Quality, not compromise. We aim to be world-class in everything we do, whether it's our people, our processes, or our technology. And for the reason of quality, not compromise, we actually offer no fixed-term contract with Hornbill Service Manager, which I will come on to in a moment. So we're doing something quite different from other vendors in our industry. We want you to be 100% satisfied that the system is right for you, whether it's your reporting requirements, your business process requirements, whatever it may be. And for that reason, we offer a 100% risk-free 30-day satisfaction guarantee. What that means is you put us to the test. We'll give you your own instance of Hornbill Service Manager free of charge for 30 days. You can try it out in your own environment, with your own data, with your own integrations to get a real feel for how it will work for you. We will assign a product specialist to you who will work with you to configure the system your way, free of charge. Your product specialist will provide you with the training so you have the knowledge and expertise to manage the system going forward. And at the end of the 30 days, the choice is yours. You can either start subscribing or walk away without obligation. The reason we offer this 30-day trial and implementation is so you can make an informed decision about whether this system is right for you and really to remove the risk from you, our customer. So how does Hornbill stand out from the crowd? As I said earlier, this is a true service, not a traditional piece of on-premise software. So there are no more upgrades to worry about. All updates are automatic with customizations that keep on working. So you're always up to date with the latest features without any service disruption. You concentrate on service delivery, let Hornbill take care of the rest. Priced for life. This is a guarantee we offer whereby we will lock the pricing that you sign up to for the entire length of time you're a customer. What that means is if we raise our prices, you will not be affected. Better still, you'll get automatic discounts over time through the effect of inflation. Plus, you'll continue to benefit from all the features and functionality that will add onto our platform that you will not have to pay anything extra for. Train for life is another guarantee we offer whereby we'll train up your solution champion as part of our free of charge 30-day trial and implementation. However, if they leave, if they're replaced, if they're promoted, whatever it may be, we will train up their replacement free of charge. And we will continue to do this for the entire length of time you're a customer. And this will avoid the situation I mentioned at the start of our presentation where your administrator leaves the organization and really leaves a gap in knowledge in your service desk. And no contract tie-in. We want happy customers, not contractually bound customers. So we allow you to cancel your contract at any time for any reason without any notice. I'm often asked why Hornbill do this, and the reason is quite simple. It forces us to offer a great value, quality service, otherwise our customers could simply walk away. So how much does it cost? We offer a simple, scalable pricing model that starts at £42.50 per user per month with a minimum of 10 users. There's a volume discount, so the more users you have, the lower the unit cost. And don't forget, our price for life guarantee means the pricing level you sign up to is locked for the entire length of the time you're a customer. Here's just a selection of some of our customers that have already made the move over to Hornbill Service Manager. As you can see, they come from a variety of industries and sectors. Two that I'd like to mention in particular, firstly Aylesbury Vale District Council, who made the move from Supportworks to Service Manager back in 2015. This was part of their drive to move to an infrastructure-free environment. They actually won the Best Small Service Desk Award at last year's SDI event using Hornbill Service Manager. iDocs is a supplier of goods and services to the UK public sector. They also moved over to Service Manager in 2015 from Supportworks. One of their key requirements was a transfer of historical call data, and we actually moved over 10,000 records for them over the course of a weekend. So just to finish now, as a Supportworks customer, we'll go over and beyond the free of charge 30-day trial and implementation that I mentioned earlier. We'll actually migrate over your call data to Service Manager from Supportworks if you require it, free of charge. We'll also provide a credit of any unused support and maintenance from Supportworks once you start subscribing to Hornbill Service Manager. You qualify as long as you're an existing Supportworks customer with an active contract. If you are interested, please do let your relationship manager know as soon as possible. There is limited availability, as you can imagine, due to the high demand that we're experiencing. It's also worth noting that we are considering phasing out the free of charge migration service that we have been offering, so please do move forward as soon as possible if you're interested. Okay, so thank you very much for your time today. Well, we've received various questions, so we will go through those now. Okay, we got one here. Is there a minimum number of subscriptions required to sign up? There's a minimum of 10 users, and it's also worth noting the more users you add on, the lower the unit cost because we have a volume discount. Where will my data be held? Your data will be held in the geographical location that you are in. So if you're in Europe, your data will be in Europe. If you're in North America, it will be in North America, and so on. Do I have to migrate my call data over from Supportworks to Service Manager? That's completely up to yourself. We have many customers who have made the decision to make a fresh start. Other customers have decided to migrate their call data over. So again, completely up to yourselves, but it is something that we can help you with if you require it. And last question here. My support and maintenance renewal for Supportworks is due, but I'm interested in moving to Service Manager. What should I do? We'd advise you to continue with your renewal of your support and maintenance, because once you start subscribing to Service Manager, we can offer you a refund if you require it. So that will leave you covered for your support in terms of Supportworks, and then going forward, you can move over to Service Manager. We'll provide a refund once you start subscribing. Okay, I think that's all the questions that we received. Thank you very much for your time, everyone. I'll pass over to Sarah.
Thank you, Manish and Connor, for taking us through that presentation. I hope everyone found it useful. If you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to contact me or your relationship manager. Finally, thank you for your time today. Goodbye.